Well guys, I got a new toy for the tractor. Well guys, I bit the bullet and I got a mower deck for the Emax 20S. One quick tip before I start, if you're thinking about getting a mower deck, get the mower deck when you actually buy the tractor itself because it'll save you a lot of money. So for the past year we've been using our bush hog to mow this backyard and we're trying to mow the front yard with it. It doesn't look too bad right here on GoPro. Nothing ever looks bad elevation wise on the GoPro. But there are these dips and curves everywhere throughout our backyard where I'm constantly having to adjust the height of the bush hog as I'm just going in a straight line across the yard, and bush hog's not really built for that. The bush hog isn't really meant for nice fine cuts on your yard. People can use it as that if they have a nice flat yard and they can just keep it as one consistent height to be able to mow across. But since I can't keep my bush hog at a consistent height, my thought process around that was just to keep the bush hog high. But even when I keep the bush hog high, there's big enough gaps in there where I'm still having to constantly adjust the height of the bush hog in order to not basically shove the bush hog into the ground and not having it cut way too high above where the ground is. So in order to compensate for that, I was trying to decide whether I wanted to just buy a regular lawnmower or a mower deck for the tractor. I can't recommend one or the other because it's going to depend on your particular situation, but I can tell you why I went with my decision. So the mower deck for our tractor almost costs as much as just buying a regular lawnmower. I don't know why it costs that much money. I don't know if it's just because it's an attachment for a tractor. Same thing kind of goes for if you're buying a chipper for a tractor. Everything just costs more when you're buying an attachment for your tractor. I could have bought a lawnmower, but the reason I didn't buy a lawnmower is because I didn't want to have another engine to maintain. I already have a tractor, plus I'd have to have a place to store the tractor or the new lawnmower, which I don't, and I didn't want to just leave it outside, a brand new lawnmower outside. With that and a lot of other factors that I might get to future videos, I decided to just get the mower deck. The reason the mower deck is nice is because it sits between the two tires. So with the bush hog, it extends the length of your tractor basically. So you're having to adjust for that huge length between the rear of the bush hog and the front of the tractor. So if you're going down a dip, it really extends it in the back. But if you have a mower deck in the middle, you really don't have to adjust nearly as much to make up for those contours in the land. So that's why we decided to go with a mower deck for the tractor rather than going with per se a finish mower on the back of the tractor. You would still have to adjust for the contours of the land a lot more. If you have any questions, ask me in the comments below and I'll try to get to them. But back to the mower deck itself. It's about 54 inches wide. It has 3 blades and it's made by TYM, which is the same manufacturer of Mahindra itself. And now I need to get it out of the bed of my truck. And it's about 200 pounds, so that'll be fun. You'd think by now I would have bought some pallet forks, but I'm still in between buying the quick attached pallet forks or the ones that snap onto your bucket because there's positive and negatives of both. Well, turns out Deanna and I can just lift it with our own hands and get it off. So only about 180 pounds, 190 pounds, so it's pretty easy for both of us to do together. So yeah, today we're going to be installing this on our Emax 20S, and hopefully it's not as difficult as I think it might be. So if you wanted a quick look at the specifications for this mower, here it is here. You can just hit pause. I'll try to zoom in far enough here in order for you to see it. So the first thing I'm going to do here is install these tires on here. That way I can roll it around the gravel manually until I get it in place. The manual tells you exactly how to do it. And if you buy this mower, it does come with a box of all the parts that you need to be able to install this yourself. I did opt to install this myself because it'll save me about $150. And really, from what I can see, it shouldn't be too difficult to install, but I may kick myself for saying that. So yeah, it looks like there's quite a few holes in here to adjust the height of the mower deck itself. Put this guy through here. I only have so many hands, so bear with me. This bolt here will be sliding through the middle of the tire so it can rotate around that. Then you'll just be using a nut and a washer, I believe, to tighten it to this bottom threaded hole through here. One thing to keep in mind as you're doing this is to make sure you keep the spacer on the inside, because that spacer keeps you away from this piece of metal here so it's not rubbing up against that once it gets secured. So yeah, right now I got one little tire installed. One of the first things you're gonna have to do before you install the mower deck is, if you bought your tractor without the mower deck, there's this cap they put over the mid PTO. And all it is it's just bolted on to this little corner here with this little guy. It looks like it's a 3/8 inch bolt. That's where you'll be able to attach your mid-mount mower to. Now that we have that removed, we're going to go ahead and slide the mower deck underneath here and see if we can get this thing installed. So the next step, I went ahead and raised the mower rear link up as high as I can. That way it'll be easier to slide this underneath. You can either slide it underneath or you can drive over the top of it. I think for the first time I'm just going to slide it underneath and see how that goes. And if that doesn't work, I will just go ahead and drive over the top of it. So yeah, I ended up just kind of dragging it over and driving over the top of it. That was the easiest thing to do. One quick tip though before you drive over it is make sure you bring these tires up to their highest setting. Make sure they aren't touching the ground, otherwise you might break these tires, because these tires cannot hold the weight of the tractor on them. Should be sitting on the deck itself as you're driving over. This is definitely my first time doing this, so I'm just kind of making this up as I go. But it looks like these pins, you just pull straight out here and lock. There's a little groove here, you can slide it in the side. Lock those pins out, then you just lower your 3-point again so you can slide that pin through this hole in here. So you got to drop it as low as it goes, I believe, but I will do it slowly, a little bit at a time, just to make sure I'm not bumping this into that, because it looks like it'll get pretty close. So another thing I just learned is you want to be about this far away, I don't know, about 3 or 4 inches from your rear tire to the back of the mower deck itself in order to put those pins in, because otherwise you might bump these bolts into this pin over here. You want these to be sitting behind this bracket here as it's coming down. So it might take a little effort the first time you do it just to eyeball where things need to be, but this mower deck really isn't all that heavy. I'm hooking this up on an unlevel surface right here, but as long as you just have to lift up one side at a time, I lifted up and this pin popped right into place, so it's fairly easy. So now I need to figure out how to get this front bracket on, which I think is the harder part. All right guys, so I'm not gonna say this is an install video on my description just because I've been struggling to get this thing on here. So the first thing I encountered, it's still not even completely installed. I just have these bolts in their loose fit in order to move this to a more level spot. Make sure you go to level spot. The biggest problem on our property is that we don't have a level spot. So when I'm trying to hook up here to adjust those bolts, this side is swinging out a little bit more than that side. It corrects itself when you pull it up to go move it around, but you need to get that adjusted before you go take that out to mow. Another problem that I ran into is that we had a manufacturer defect on there. So I actually had to grind some of this metal away in order to get this pole down in there. I flipped it over, tried all the different ways, and they just manufactured too much metal on this corner, so I wasn't able to squeeze this down there. But luckily I have a grinder and I was able to just grind off just a hair of metal, but enough that it was catching on there in order to get this down underneath. So we'll have to get some more paint from Tractor Supply and paint that up so it doesn't rust. But yeah, good times. Now I'm gonna go try to move this to a more level spot and finish the install. All right guys, that took much longer than anticipated, but I finally got that thing installed. Like I said, I don't know if I'm comfortable actually showing you a full installation video until I make sure I have everything hooked up myself. So that might be a future video, taking that on and off, but the initial setup was interesting to say the least. So I'm gonna mow back and forth a couple times here and see how it does. So yeah, it actually cuts very well, which I would expect for as much money as I spent on it. You can see here, cut very evenly all the way through and across. There's some places that I would need to take the front end loader off to be able to maneuver around, but plus like around this guide wire for the pole here, I'd still want to take string trimmer and stuff around here. But man, it is going to save so much time. The biggest thing with this tractor is obviously the ROP system. The ROPs will make it a little bit harder for your clearance to get under things and get right up next to things. So I'm gonna have to leave a pretty big ring around some of these trees that hang in at different angles, but it is nice. I was push mowing pretty much all this until I could get this bush hog fixed and everything, but yeah, it is nice. So yeah, I put these tires at the third hole here just to give it a little bit more room beneath the ground and the mower deck so I don't have any scalping, and just to give it a little bit more room to maneuver there going over the different contours. And I only moved it to, looks like 2 3/4 or maybe 2.5 inches. So I might move it up a little bit more once I start mowing back that direction, just so I don't have to worry about hitting those high or low spots, whichever way you're encountering them. But yeah, this is going to make a heck of a difference on this property, being able to mow it a lot easier, spending a lot less time mowing, and be able to do other things. So yeah, beyond having to grind a little bit of that front piece of metal in order to get the bracket in there, I really like it. I don't think that's excusable for as expensive as it was, but I knew I was going to have to take it probably 2 hours away or 45 minutes away in order for someone else to probably do the exact same thing that I just did, just grind off a little bit of metal so it could fit in there. So I went ahead and did it. I'll go ahead and put some red paint on there to match, and hopefully it won't rust anytime soon after I do that. But yeah, very happy with the mower. Once I use it a bit more around the property, I'll probably come up with a follow-up video. And if you guys have any questions, I know I just kind of skimmed over a bunch of things in this video, mainly because I was struggling installing the mower deck myself, so I didn't spend as much time filming it. But hopefully once I get a bit more time, I'll be able to film a little follow-up and show you all the pluses and minuses of having this mower deck on your Mahindra Emax 20S. All right guys, well, if you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, subscribe if you want to see more videos like it. You can also check us out at dnsadventures.com. And as always, adventure on.